Arsenal used the same formation in every Premier League game last season and made, by a margin of 16, the fewest changes to the starting 11 of any team, averaging just one a game. Teams knew what they were going to do even if, most of the time, they just couldn't stop it. Yet Mikel Arteta foresees that irresistibility only lasting so long. Teams adapt. They hone in on the most common patterns and eventually counter them. He has spent this summer planning how to avoid staleness creeping in as he seeks to build on a formula that worked so well for the majority of last season. So what is next? Arteta's answer is to transform Arsenal into a footballing chameleon. You can't defend what you don't understand, and 8 days into the club's US tour, it has become clear that Arteta is determined to create a playbook of such varied systems that it flummoxes their opponents. The idea is to be more unpredictable every year, to become more difficult for the opponents to stop and nullify what we want to do, he said. That's what we have now, especially at the back and in the midfield. The options we have, to open up the spaces, we have many more options than we had last year. With teams trying to press Arsenal and prevent them from getting their passing patterns going, being able to counteract an opponent to ensure they cannot clog up your usual rotations is so important. This week, The Athletic asked Arteta whether this meant people should expect to see Arsenal switching to different plans more often. So how is the approach likely to differ from last season? The style of Arsenal's attack with 5, defend with 5 balance will remain, but Arsenal's build-up will shapeshift far more than it did last season. Alexander Zinchenko's arrival from Manchester City took their possession game to new heights as his inverted role from left-back helped them become far more press-resistant. Ben White played a specific role on the opposite flank to provide balance behind the ball. But, in the team's preseason games so far, the sheer number of options available to Arteta and the number he is willing to utilize has become obvious. White, Takahiro Tomiyasu, Jurrien Timber, William Saliba, Rob Holding, Gabriel, Jakub Kiwior, Kieran Tierney and Zinchenko are the starting options Arteta has to form his back four. Timber's cameo against MLS All-Stars was superb and he showcased his ability to receive on the half-turn after moving inside. When Martin Odegaard pulls out into the right-back position Timber vacates, it means Arsenal's most creative passer is looking into the game. That is a positive as it gives him great angles to observe on his left foot if the rotations and forward runs of Bukayo Saka and Kai Havertz can drag the opposition over to one side. I think you've seen tonight that Timber a really versatile player, said Arteta after the 5-0 win over MLS All-Stars. We can use him in different positions within those positions. He gives you the capacity to invert and occupy different spaces. He's so comfortable on the ball in that phase. As well, he's got that aggression in the duels and that dynamism which I really like. Against Manchester United, we saw the possibilities that full-backs inverting on both sides can create. In the 13th minute, they worked a great rotation on the left which opened up the pass for Gabriel to find Tomiyasu behind the United midfield, but Eddie Nketiah crowded the space by dropping and they had to circulate the ball to the other side. But they successfully created the overload once again when Aaron Ramsdale's ball out wide to Gabriel Martinelli saw Tomiyasu use Havertz's overlap to burst forward and switch the ball wide to Saka. The concept of a best 11 is a redundant term if you want to win at the elite level. The physical and mental demands of a 60-game season, incorporating a Champions League campaign, means it is now about a core group of 14 or 15 players who can start without there being a sense of vulnerability. Last season, Arsenal's fluidity was affected too much when Saliba suffered his back injury, so having fallback options depending on availability is key. Outside the 5 academy graduates in the first team, only Holding, Tierney, Mohamed Elneny, Nicolas Pepe and Martinelli predate Mikel Arteta's arrival at Arsenal in December 2019. This is very much Arteta's squad now, but learning the game model can be demanding with it requiring in-game intelligence to problem solve and know when to invert or not. Odegaard says he often helps new players get to grips with the instructions when it comes to understanding their position by talking them through which spaces they should be occupying in training.